Hey everybody, I just wanted to share some debugging in Visual Studio 2010. So, I just wanted to show how you can do some debugging in C++. So, I wrote a simple main function and it prints out hello world. It initializes a class that I created, and I set a name variable for that class, and then I print it out, and then I loop through an array. So to set a breakpoint in Visual Studio, you just click on this little tray on the side here, and it sets a breakpoint for this line of code. I'll break right before this statement. So I'm going to set 3 breakpoints, and then I want to stop at these lines of code. Visual Studio also has a conditional breakpoint, and it's useful for, let's say, while loops or a condition. So let's say in this for loop I want to set a breakpoint when I equals 3, and I set up the variable, set up the statement if it's true, and then hit OK. So now in this for loop, while it's going through, if I equals 3, it's going to break right before here. So I set up my breakpoints. Let's say I want to pass, show how to pass in some arguments to this too. So we go into our properties for this project. Go into debug, and then go and set your command arguments. And right now I'm passing in foo bar 1 2 into this program. So I'm passing in arguments, set my breakpoints, and now I want to start debugging. So you can right click on your project, go into the debug, and you can start a new instance which will debug. This is the same as hitting the debug on the top here, or you can step into a new instance of your program, which sometimes is useful if you're having something break right off the bat. But I'm going to start a new instance, and it stopped right before this print statement. So now if I tab to my console output, you can see nothing's outputted yet, but it's broke right before. So if I want to so they're stepping over, they're stepping into, and they're stepping out of. So I want to step over this. I don't want to step into this function printf, because that will get into the C code. I can show you real quick. If I hit F11, which is step into, and there's all these buttons right here. Step into is F11. So if I hit F11, it will now go into the C code for printf. And I don't really want to go into that. So let's say I want to step out of this function, which will complete the function. I can click the step out of, or shift F11. So that just stepped out of the printf. I now want to step over, which is stepping over this function. And you can step over with this. So basically now it's at this next line, and if we look at the console out, it's printed hello world. But now it's at this line of code right before constructing my class. So I want to step into this constructor, so I hit F11. It now initializes my class. It's now in the constructor. If I hit F11, it's going to go into base class, which is a little more complex. I don't really want to go into all the complexity of setting up the base class for every class, but anyway, shift F11 will step out of that code. F10 will step over a line. So now I'm before the cout. Hasn't printed out yet. If I go back and hit the F10, it will step over this line of code. Won't skip it, but it will print it. So now it printed out that. So now if I hit F10, that my class is now set up. You can see I've set up a little. You can hover over the variable and it will show that the string name is not set. It's set to an empty string, and I've pinned this variable to show all the variables for this class C, or my class, which is named C. And it's getting set here. So let's hit the F5 key, which will jump to my next breakpoint. And you can see now that I pinned, it's set the C, this my class, set the name to foo. And another thing you can see is in the locals box, all the variables that are set to. And so now let's continue. Right before the printed statement, let's say we want to step into this function. So if I hit F11, it will now go into the printf. Hit F11, it's now before this printed line. So I want to step over that so it prints this line, and now we'll print the name. And if you hover over it, it will show this variable is set to foo. Another cool thing is local is this is the instance of this class. And if you expand this, you can see all the members of this class, all the variables for this class. And let's step out of this. Okay, so now I hit F10, and now it's to this line where it's just before setting the array. You can see that this array is not set to anything, it's set to some random memory. And if I hit F10, it will step over, and now if I hover over it, it's now set to A, B, C, D, E. And if I expand this, you can see the array 0 through 4 and A through E is all set. So that's cool. So now to our conditional breakpoint. If we hit F5, which will continue to our next breakpoint, it will now jump to where our condition is I equals 3. I equals 3, and it has now, if we go to our output, has printed 0 through 2, A, B, C, and now it's about to print 3. If we hit F10, it will step over. If we hit F10 again, it will now go into the conditional. I has not incremented, but if we hit F10, I is now 4. Hit F10 again, it's now at the end. Now I should equal 5, and it breaks out of that for loop. And so now we're at the return. If we hit F5, it's now at the end of our code. And if we look, it's now printed all the array, and now it's also printed the end of my class destructor, because it's no longer needed and it's out of scope, and so it called the destructor. So anyway, some simple debugging in Visual Studio 2010. Hope this helps in debugging. Thanks.